expanding what's possible for nurses.
Sorry about that, Rakitra.
It's okay. Um, so Columbia Nursing Pathways Collective is a student-led initiative dedicated to expanding what's possible for nurses. We create space for nurses to explore diverse careers, paths from entrepreneurship and consulting to digital health and technology, while staying grounded in the core values of our profession. So through panels, workshops, mentorship, and connections with industry leaders, we aim to empower nurses to bring their clinical expertise into new and evolving spaces, bridging healthcare, innovation, and equity. At Nursing Pathways, we believe nurses are not only caregivers, but also strategists, innovators, and change makers shaping the future of healthcare. Today's discussion focuses on what it means to go beyond the bedside and into the digital space, exploring how nurses are using social media and amplifying their voices, build influence, create income streams, and develop personal brands. We are so excited to have you all here. So let's get started by introducing our panelists. Eunice. Eunice is a travel nurse and full-time content creator with a background in surgical trauma, ICU, and psychiatric nursing. She brings a dynamic perspective to healthcare, combining hands-on clinical experience with a passion for storytelling and digital engagement. Through her social media platforms, Eunice shares lifestyle, nursing, and travel content, offering an authentic look into the realities of the profession while inspiring others to explore diverse careers paths within nursing. She is also preparing to further her clinical expertise by pursuing her psychiatric nurse practitioner degree this spring. Katie. Katie is a board certified nurse practitioner with over 20 years of clinical experience spanning cardiology, emergency medicine, weight health, menopause, aesthetics, and telemedicine. A national recognized healthcare leader and digital media pioneer, she is known for her authenticity, advocacy, and innovative voice in nursing. Alongside her healthcare work, Katie shares content on fashion, home, and self-worth, tapping into the real, unfiltered experiences of life in your 40s. She's known for blending substance with style and sparking honest conversations that resonate with women navigating career pivots, personal reinvention, and doing life on their own terms. She has a master's of science in nursing from Columbia University and currently serves on the healthcare advisory board at FIGS. Her work has been featured in the Washington Post, Forbes, and the New York Times. Through speaking and content creation, she helps healthcare professions explore authentic, non-traditional career paths while driving meaningful change both online and in practice. Odalo is a registered nurse and digital content creator who works in an ICU step-down unit. He uses his clinical experience to educate, inspire, and support nurses, navigating the realities of healthcare. Through his platforms, Odalo creates relatable, humorous, and educational content that highlights the day-to-day experiences of nurses while encouraging professional growth and resilience. He is also a strong advocate for health and fitness, often motivating nurses to prioritize their physical and mental well-being despite the demands of the profession. His work focuses on bridging the gap between healthcare professionals and the public while empowering nurses to build their voices beyond the bedside. Through storytelling and digital media, Odalo continues to make nursing more visible, relatable, and impactful. Now, I will give the floor to Ejiro, a fellow student here at Columbia School of Nursing and co-founder of Columbia Nursing Pathway Collective Lab, to lead our discussion.
Right. Thank you so much, Rakidra. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to talk with some of these amazing nurses and content creators. And we're going to go ahead and dive right in because we saw your questions and they got answers. So let's get to it. So I'm going to start and open the floor off with a question kind of for all of you. What makes this conversation especially powerful and impactful is that while all of you are nurses using digital platforms, you have taken you've each taken a very unique and different or diverse path. So I'm going to kind of open the floor and I want to ask, can you take us back to the moment where you decided to share your voice online? What pushed you to hit post for the first time, especially if there was any type of fear, uncertainty, or hesitancy? I'll start
That
with
is
Katie. I'm gonna start with Katie
okay.
because you're the OG.
I feel like that's going to look very different for each of us
Yes.
because, with the advent of social media, it has changed, it has evolved and changed significantly over the last, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So the very first time I ever posted on social media was in 2011. Um, there were no brand pages, there were no community teams, influencer wasn't a word, creator wasn't a word, like none of this existed. What did exist was we had all heard that there were these internet platforms that were sort of kicking MySpace out. God, I'm 45, y'all. What do you expect? We go keep it real here tonight, okay? But talk to your moms and your aunts about this, okay? But the thing is that we just heard that there was a place on the internet where we could share our lives. And something that I always felt was, where do people look to for inspiration or guidance if they want to go into healthcare? If they don't have family members and if they don't watch, if they don't watch Rescue 911 or ER, where do they find out these things? How do they know what the life is like? When you're a little kid and you want to play basketball, you watched Michael Jordan, you watched Kobe, you went to all these resources and all these things. So healthcare was a place where I thought, why don't I just start sharing my life? Because there might be people out there that want to become an ER nurse. At the time, I was working as an ER nurse at Cornell. And so I just decided I want to show people what it's like working in healthcare and working in the ER in New York City specifically. So the decision for me to do it was much less weighted
Yeah.
because it was but this is going to sound crazy, but like it was such a pure, wholesome time back
Yeah.
then.
We
It
are.
was, you do what you want. People were posting pictures of what they ate for lunch. We're having regular, authentic conversations. The landscape was completely different. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it looks different for each of us for that.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing. And I think a lot of us, you got some snaps, Katie, when you mentioned Facebook and the MySpaces. Some people remember. So people here remember in the
Okay,
room.
okay.
So, I want to transition now this question over to Odalo because, your content is really, it's very relatable to folks. I think you say a lot of what a lot of us don't want to say or maybe are thinking. And you manage to put a smile on our faces when you do it. So, can you take us back to the moment where you decided to share your voice online and what pushed you to hit post for the first time?
Thank you for the compliment. The first time was, so I'm a night shift nurse, and I started nursing right after COVID. So I didn't really get to see what COVID was like. But my sister is a nurse. She's the one who made me get into this nursing journey.
Yeah.
So there was just a shift that I was starting to feel lonely and bored and felt like nobody really understand what I was going through as a nurse. And I just felt pretty basically lonely during that early stages of my nursing journey. And then I started watching a lot of content, but nobody could actually tell how I was feeling.
Mm.
So one night, I popped my camera up. I made a video. I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I didn't even have a tripod, didn't have lights. Just set it up with, I think, with something. I don't know what I used to set my camera up. I made a video. I sent it to my sister and a friend of mine, and they both started laughing to it. And my sister told me that is so funny because I've actually seen that happen. And I was like, okay. She told me, how about you post it and see what happens?
Mhm, mhm,
So, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this because
mhm.
one, I did do it at work. So there's always that gray line between trying to make content at work and not getting into trouble,
Yeah.
HIPAA.
Yeah.
But she told me she became my editorial team. She told me there's no HIPAA violation here. A lot of people are making content at work as long as you don't post the name of the job and patient name and you're doing it on your break,
Yeah.
it should be fine. So I started to post it and it actually did better than I thought. And so far, I've just been having fun with it.
Nice.
And people have been relating to my story and saying,
Yeah.
you know what, that is so funny. I've always thought about that, but
Aw.
nobody said it. So I guess that's my style of content.
Yeah, in your story. Thank you for sharing. And Auntie, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that sentiment of feeling alone and lonely. I think navigating it, I think a lot of people feel that way in nursing. And I probably have a hard time expressing it. So for you to not only express that and share that, but to find ways to make others smile online while you're navigating that really is encouraging and motivating for a lot of folks on the call. I want to go ahead and really quickly transition to Eunice, because Eunice, we all want to know too. You definitely highlight living life like it's golden. Your page really reflects a lot of aspirations for the girlies, a lot of excitement for what I can look forward to. I know a lot of girls are like, a lot of the panel attendees, excuse me, were excited to see all of you, and Eunice, you, of course. But can you take us back to the very first time that you decided to share your voice online? What pushed you to hit post?
Yeah, for sure. So throughout high school and college, me and all my friends, we called them burner Instagram accounts. Like we only allowed each other to see it. So it was like 20, 40 of us. And we would always post throughout college because we never talked all the time, but we would all be like, hey, I'm about to go take my test. I might fail. And you post on your story and everyone's like, you got this, girl. And it was a way to keep contact like informally. But after school, everyone stopped posting their vlogs on their page. And my friend was like, Eunice, like people are posting their vlogs on TikTok. Like you should do it. Like people would find you entertaining. I'm like, no one's gonna watch that. Like, no one's gonna watch that. And I also feel that sentiment that Odalo was talking about of feeling kind of lonely. All my friends are corporate, 9 to 5,
Mm.
investment banking, marketing, and I just would talk about work, and I'd be like, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Let me just stop.
Yeah.
So I decided to just post a vlog. And then from there, people ask me questions like, oh, you're a nurse. What kind of nurse are you? And I did not have resources when I was in school, like someone to
Mm.
ask a question to. There's no nurses in my family. Really did not have anyone to ask my questions. I would go on YouTube and I would find girls who were like, I'm a travel nurse. And I'd save their videos and be like, I'm going to do that. Or I'd go on YouTube and search how to make the most money as a nurse. Because it's a job, you want to make money. And when I was in school, I was worried about debt. So I was like, oh, I'll answer this person's question. And then it kind of snowballed because people would be like, oh, what do you do outside of work? And I'm like, oh, I like to work out, or oh, I like to travel. So it
Yeah.
just kind of snowballed into a thing where I was like, oh, this is so fun for me. And it still is, because since I post very much like my life, like later this week I'll be traveling, so I'll be posting about that. Or if a few people are like, hey, I'm about to graduate, do you have tips on interviews? I'll just like post a quick video because it takes a few minutes to help people out. And I know what it was like not having resources. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. It was like vlogs, and then now it's just formulated to really whatever I'd like to post that day.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting. Thank you all for sharing. I think that what really stands out is that each of your journeys started from a very real, genuine place that I think a lot of attendees here can really relate to, whether that was curiosity or creativity or just really wanting to find a space online that they can relate to. And now those same platforms have evolved that you started on to something bigger. So I want to shift this into something that many people are curious about, how content creation really translates into opportunity. Katie, I would love to start with you, especially as someone who has been building in this space before it was established. I mean, you are OG. Okay, so for people who don't know, Katie is an OG. She's been around since before Instagram was Instagram. Okay, she has been one of the early nurses. I remember when you first started before the Instagram icon.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when the Instagram icon was brown?
Oh, yeah. I do. I do. I
It
do.
was?
It was a brown icon, y'all. It was
It was a brown logo.
It was
Oh,
brown,
it was.
y'all. And I remember
it was
Katie, it
trash.
was brown. So listen, I am thrilled to be able to have been a part of your journey and now be on this journey as well, and to see how much you have grown. Because during that time, social media wasn't what it is now, like you said.
It's not. It has completely evolved, and I think that it's a true testament to the people it serves.
Yeah.
Because in the world of tech, tech and all of these startups, they are going to serve the people who need this service. And social media fills a void for everybody somehow, whether you want to post content, whether you want to consume content, whether you need to start a business, whether you need to sell a product, there's something for everybody there.
Yeah.
But your question was, how did I just run back the question one more
No
time? How
worries.
did
No,
I
and
evolve
thank you
back?
for sharing that. You entered the space at a time when there really wasn't a roadmap.
Oh, yeah.
There was no
Okay.
clear monetization. There was no defined nurse
There was
creator
nothing.
lane. So you kind of made
There was
this lane.
nothing.
You kind of
Yeah.
pioneered for a lot of the nurses that are here today, really. So
Yeah.
how did you start recognizing the value of what you were building before the industry even?
Yeah. So in 2011, I had maybe 500 followers on Twitter. They were all nurses around New York City, and I would start hosting Twitter chats, Twitter giveaways. And I would do giveaways. I would go and I would buy scrubs, like terrible, like just any brand I could get, because I was like, wow, if I could get people to follow me, I can help them like create a really genuine career for themselves and represent for nurses. And I was on a TV show on ABC at that time called New York Med, and they were filming a documentary series at NYP Cornell and Columbia at that time, and I was one of the 3 ER nurses on the show. And so the PR team from the show was like, you guys should post and share about your life. So I had this encouragement from them, but no one knew what they were doing because there was no such thing as creators, influencers, right? There was none of it existed. It was just a place where people were sharing things. So, but I realized that wherever you have a demand, wherever you have a need, wherever you have a demand for something, whoever is fulfilling that demand can actually take control of how that path turns, right? So if the community needs something, I have the thing to offer. And if I, in turn, develop trust with that community, which is always the core of everything creators should do, especially us healthcare provider creators, that should always be the core of everything is trust, then I can create something from there. So at that time, I didn't realize what I was creating. I just knew that I was shipping out packages, like walking to the post office in Queens, shipping out free scrubs for people to answer questions and engage with me on Twitter at 3 a.m., when I was up on my night off. Over the years, about 2 years later, I had Facebook following. I had like several thousand followers on Instagram. I was like, maybe I should start trying to reach out to these scrub companies to see if somebody would give me free stuff. And that was when a uniform company and I started talking, and we negotiated a contract for what was at that time, it was just considered a marketing contract, but we created the role of the healthcare influencer. We created the role of, this is what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to create digital content to share about your scrubs and advertise your products across social media, AKA Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at that time. And in exchange, you're going to pay me, and you're also going to give me free products that I can take to deliver to all the keynotes that I'm giving around the country. Because at the same time, I started sending my resume and my credentials out to nursing schools and saying, let me come and do a workshop. And then within about a year or two, I started doing my own workshops, which led into like mentoring workshops. And over the years, I just always saw, what are the ways that I need to pivot in order to fill the need of the community that I'm serving? And that has evolved into a business. I filed my LLC in 2015. And I was, making, again, we don't start out making like money from everything. Even to this day, I will do partnerships in exchange for relationship building, contacts at a brand, long-term business development, for gifted product. So I just want people to understand that money is not the only value when it comes to getting relationships in this industry. So over the years, I just evolved and built it. I got representation in 2018, and I've been with representation since. And my NP job is to keep my credentials and, allow me to still participate in my profession, which I love. But, if we're being completely transparent, my business from social media and speaking, brand partnerships and everything makes 3 times what I make as an NP.
Amazing, amazing.
So you have to have a strategy and a plan maybe you don't know exactly what that looks like at the time, but you have to know, what is the purpose I serve? What are the needs of the community that I serve? And how do I meet those needs with things that are sustainable and authentic to me?
Amazing. So yeah, what I'm hearing is like you essentially you focused on doing what you love. You filled a gap. You found solutions, and you built
Just
things.
keeping shit real.
Kept it real, and
Just keeping shit real, just sharing the authentic. Listen, I shared when I got fired. I've been shit canned from jobs. I've been fired. I've been laid off. I share all of those terrible moments because that is what people connect on.
yeah.
That's how you establish relatability. That's how people know I can trust you, or who do I go to when I get a PIP, when I get written up? They
Mhm.
go here, they go there. And
Yeah.
so, by sharing those vulnerable moments, it really um that is really what kind of cemented me and being able to take this authentically and grow it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pivot a little bit here. And Eunice and Odalo, I'd love to hear a little bit more about as opportunities are growing for you all, as you all are taking in opportunities. How do you decide what content creator opportunities to take, what aligns with your values, and how do you decide what to walk away from and what not to take?
For me personally, I like to remind myself that the currency for being online is trust. You know, if people cannot trust you, then you basically cannot make money online. So for me to pick a brand or whatever opportunity comes my way, I have to I have to realize, would this increase the trust in my community in me, or would they think I'm a sellout?
Mhm.
So I always try to keep that in mind. And whenever like opportunities of like, because nowadays, like she was saying, we get more deals with like scrub companies reaching out to you, and there's so many scrub companies now. Like I see a scrub company come out every month trying to see if they can pay you just to wear their scrubs, or shoe companies wanting to work with nurses. So the space is so much different. I wasn't in the space when this opportunities weren't there. So I appreciate you doing the work so we can enjoy it now. Because a lot of companies just reach out without me even going to meet them. And that's when I knew, okay, I'm actually doing something that people enjoy, you
Yeah.
know. One time I met the marketing and social media coordinators of Fabletics, and when I saw them, they saw me first, and they were excited, and they said, "That's him. We've always been talking to you on email, but we've never actually seen you before. So it's great for us to finally see you." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy to me because I never thought he actually gave me a second thought. I just thought y'all just saw me as somebody you could send scrubs to, but." It just made me feel like they respected me.
Mm, mm,
So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities from making content. You
yeah.
know, I've gotten reached out from shows wanting me to be on like reality TV shows, but I don't always accept some of them because I'm like, is this gonna make me a sellout? Is this what nursing is about? But I'm in the process of reconsidering, especially since 2026 started. I'm more trying to expand what nursing can be
Yes.
instead of just being medical. Like
Yeah.
Can I interject something really quick? Like, if I could tell my younger self something, I see this a lot. Your career path should only be determined by the path that's right for you, not by the validation and the approvals of other people. You will always have trust within your community as long as you're honest with them and as long as you are your authentic self. Your path shouldn't be determined by, what do people think is a real nurse? What do people think is a real NP? What do people think is the most respectable healthcare job? Because
Mm,
if you do that, you're going to get burnt out. So if there's something in you and you're like, I would love this opportunity, that's what you have to do. And you just have to authentically share that with your community as you come along. And so many of us nurses get pipelined into these roles and we stay in jobs. And again, I'm not saying the job isn't like right or anything, but a lot of us tend to get pipelined into something and stay there because we feel if we explore something else, people will think that we're less of a nurse.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
that,
I had to
no,
interject because I
no.
was like, oh man, because it sounds like you got some great opportunities
Yeah,
coming
no,
at your door.
absolutely. Because I feel like 2026 really opened my eye because I was just doing this for fun, you know? And then I was like, I want to keep the trust going on. And that kind of kept me in a circle. So
Yeah.
2026 made me realize I can leave that circle and still take my people with me.
Mm, mm,
All grow together, you
mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Amazing. And thank you for sharing. I mean, yeah, Katie had boots on the ground, y'all. She
Yeah.
walked so we could fly. So
Mama Bear came out.
I'm telling you, and and so Eunice, I heard you, I saw you nodding your head, and we got questions for you too, because you have built a very strong presence online while navigating clinical work. And I know a lot of folks would love to know, how did you transition from creating content on the side to making it something that's a little bit more sustainable? I see in the chat. You go, Eunice. How did you transition to making it more sustainable? I mean, you are traveling, you are, really elevating, I think doing a lot of what the girlies are excited about. So how was that process like for you?
Yeah, I think for me, so content was really fun, so I was doing it super consistently, and then it hit a point where I would get a brand deal here and there. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool," but I was reminding myself, I have a full-time job, which is lovely. So this kind of goes back to the component of accepting brand deals and working with brands that align with me versus passing up on some, because I've always said at the end of the day, this is great that I'm making money off of it, but I have a full-time job. I do not need to accept things that I might not align with and I don't use or that doesn't reflect on my character. But over time, when I was posting, eventually I got a management team. They kind of opened my eyes to the different opportunities that could come my way. And I always remind people, in school, we work so hard, you're focused on all of these goals. And then when we graduate, you get the job, you get your bearings. And a lot of us kind of like flatline with our goals because, maybe you want to get a house or this or that, but you can have other goals. So for me, it was like continuing posting consistently or like going to the gym. I'm going to go to this one workout class 50 times in a few months or so to like build routine and have goals outside of work and create discipline. So I think I've been able to continue to be disciplined in nursing and like doing my full-time job while also having a life outside of that, traveling and sharing those experiences, going to workout classes, maybe making money goals for the month. Like, hey guys, I'm going to do this for the month. Like, let's see if I can do it. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you want me to circle back to the initial.
Yes, and circle back, tie it up for us before I pivot. Yes, you can circle.
Okay. But in terms of opportunities, I feel like content has given me so many opportunities just in terms of like being with the management team and making full-time income. I've had like a few like brand experiences, like it's just amazing when you see people online, then you're able to do it like a brand bringing you out somewhere and like treating you and once again getting to know people on the team. And like over time with the new management team I'm with, like I'm moving towards like next steps of being more involved. Like I've gone to a ton of events and stuff, but like hopefully like brand trips and such and like all these conversations are so exciting. But I think it's also so helpful that I work a flexible job where I work 3 days a week. So it's really all that you make with the time that you have off. Like those 4 days are like so important to me. And even the days that I work, like I'm editing on the train when I'm going to the gym or like in the gym, I'm like listening to the YouTube video before it gets posted. But it's all those like little discipline things that I think make it worth it, and I'm able to do both and have more opportunity from putting in more.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, y'all, thank you for enlightening us. I do want to like highlight I want to transition a little bit. I mean, so many questions to ask and not enough time, but beyond opportunity, each of you was also shaping how people understand nursing and healthcare. And you mentioned, all three of you mentioned it to some extent, that this does come with a real level of responsibility. So I would love to, a lot of folks here actually would love to ask or understand more. How do each of you approach creating content that's not only engaging, but also accurate, responsible, trustworthy, as you mentioned, Odalo, and reflective of the profession while still protecting your privacy, your hospital policies, and most importantly, patient privacy? And I think I'll start with you, Eunice. I know you tied it up, and then we'll take it around if you don't mind.
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat? It was like a loaded
It was
question.
a lot, yeah. So how do you approach creating content that is accurate and responsible and
Yeah.
reflecting nursing while protecting privacy? Because we know HIPAA is a really big thing.
Yeah, I think very early on, I understood in the profession, sometimes there's like things said at the nurse's station
Mhm.
that don't need to be said online. And it's not Like, for example, people are like, I'd rather have an intubated and sedated patient. Like, we know the long-winded reason is like people want to be able to use their skills or like be in that room and help out people, or they like their critical thinking. But saying a phrase like that online is not going to translate well to the average person, right? Hearing, why would you want a patient to be intubated? And that's not what someone would mean, but like going online, that might get misconstrued. So very early on in my career, I realized there's certain lingo and phrases and things that just don't need to be online because that can make our profession like
Mhm.
bad. I think that's the first thing. The second thing, even working like as a full-time nurse, all of these years in creating content, I've always asked myself, if my manager sees this video, do I feel comfortable going into the office and explaining this? If I don't, it's not going online. So even with patient stories, I love sharing stories because they're relatable. You get a lesson out of it. And oftentimes in school, that's how I learned things, right? When the professor was like 20 years ago in this, or last week I was blah, blah, blah. So what I like to do with story times is, what is the message I'm trying to relay?
Mhm.
The lesson might be, make sure you're taking your time with things, or you're going to end up having to do it
All over again.
all over again and way worse in nursing. You don't cut corners in nursing, right? So it's like, maybe I'm taking this experience that happened, but I can just change around the details, change around who it was, where I was, all the things that don't matter in the story, because the lesson is, do it correctly or you're going to do it twice.
Yeah.
And so that's even with like stories, I'm always remembering it's not about the fact that it was a male patient who was this and this and that. What's the lesson and the main principle of the story, and how can I change it so I can just share online? That way people can get a lesson out of it. But yeah, always remind myself, if this hits my manager's desk, will I be able to explain this? And that even goes with co-workers, bad days. Like, I might get out of work and have a bad day and I'm vlogging that day. I'm not speaking about it that day.
Yeah.
Maybe next week I might be like, oh, that shift was so long. That was last week.
That was
But just reminding myself, people are watching, my coworkers have me on social media. God forbid my phone syncs up with the patients and their phone scrolling on TikTok. Like, I don't want them being like, hey, that's my nurse, and wait, she said she had a bad day with me, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So just always being cognizant that I'm actively working in the hospital, but trying to separate those things.
Mhm.
And always like reading hospital policy. And my rule now, at the first hospital I ever worked at, they allowed phones and whatnot, but I'm always reminding myself, the second I walk into work, no videos, no selfies, no
Yeah.
this, no that. When I'm outside work, I
Mhm.
can show my life. But in terms of clinical practice, if you want to see it, go shadow someone. I'm not going to show
I'm
you.
not going to do it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you for that. And I think that's really important, is understanding how to separate the two. And I think this really helps me segue to you, Katie, because you earlier on, when you talked about how you got into the profession, how you got into, excuse me, content creation. There really was no roadmap, and you kind of, were doing this, really brand new. And you mentioned, you had to navigate how to, be a creator and navigate hospital policies. I think you mentioned something about work, having to navigate challenges out in the workplace. I don't know if I heard termination earlier. Forgive me if I'm missed.
Oh yeah, I mean it's public. Y'all can Google it if you haven't
Oh,
already. You can Google it. I got fired on national television in front of 10 million people.
please,
You
can you please
you can
tell us?
check it out.
Can you please
Um,
tell us what happened and
yeah.
avoid this?
So I'm gonna give you like the quick version because I'm trying to be mindful of time. But it was 2012, 2012. I don't think it aired until 2013 though. But we were filming New York Med on ABC, and again, like I said, I was one of the three ER nurses who was on the show. Um, and when you work in the ER, you're very close with the residents, the fellows. Like we see some wild shit together. We're all very close. And I had heard that there was a traumatic arrest that came in. I was actually off work. And in our like group chat text, our chief resident, who we all lived like in the same building, we were all very close. He was just like, "Yo, the traumatic arrest came in the other
Mm,
day, and like we got a return of circulation. Patients up up in the ICU, the news, everyone was there. It was crazy. And we were all really excited about this case.
yeah.
And the chief resident took a photo of the empty trauma room and posted it on his Instagram. Now, there's nothing in this photo that violates any policy, but also keep in mind, social media policies didn't exist. So so he took the picture of the empty trauma room. There's no limbs laying around on the floor, okay? There's no, armbands with IDs and names. There's no family members. There's nothing. It's just an empty room that looks like you just had a trauma patient come in. That's a language that we all speak, right? That's a language that we all speak. And whenever I mentor people, one of the first things I tell them after establish trust and be authentic is remember that not everybody speaks ER nurse. Remember that not everybody speaks ICU nurse or OR nurse or midwife. And the average person who's seeing your content is not going to speak the same language of you as you. So he posted this picture and I saw this picture and I was just like, hey, can I like repost that on my page? And he's like, yeah, sure. I was like, that's really cool. So I reposted it and I shared it on my Instagram page. And a couple weeks later, I got called into my patient care director's office. Now, let's do a little background. I had been at NYP for 7 years. I was a nurse clinician, which was the highest level promoted of nurse there. I precepted 75% of that ER. I was involved in quality and patient safety projects. If you ever work at NYP and you see yellow socks, that came from my quality and patient safety project. So I was very involved with everything. I loved my job. I was charge nurse. I was triage nurse. I was on the hiring committee. Like it was my life. I loved it there. The TV show changed a lot of things because what it did was it introduced popularity and newfound curiosity about people with a very thankless, burnt out profession that's mostly women. And we know what happens when women work together. We get catty. Women are catty. This is life, right? This is the reality. So people started treating us differently, those of us who were on the show. But like my real friends, my real core group stayed solid. But my manager, my patient care director called me in one night and he's just like, listen, have a seat. And it's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. I'm like, first of all, why the fuck are you here at 7 p.m.? So I go in and he's like, I really appreciate all the work that you've done here over the last 7 years, but I think it's time for you to move on. And I'm thinking, am I getting a promotion? I was like, am I going to get a promotion? I was so excited. And he's like, have a seat. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I was kind of excited. And he slides an 8x11 paper across his desk. And I flip it over. And it's a picture, it's a printed out of the Instagram post that I made. And he says, here's the thing, Katie. Ever since you got on this TV show and you started your little Twitter page and your Facebook and you're doing all this weird stuff on social media, you think you're going to be the next Dr. Oz, and you're not because you're just a nurse. He said, however, I can't fire you for this, but what I can fire you is for being unprofessional and what I think is insensitive. And so he fired me without warning. And Cornell's not a union hospital, just FYI, if you don't know.
We know.
Without warning, we know. Without warning, he fired me. And the thing was that he said, I just want nurses who are going to come to work, be a nurse, and go home. You're trying to do all this extra stuff. And I think that you're wasting your time. And I really think that you just need a wake-up call that there's no future for you in this social media world. I think you should just stay in your lane of being a nurse. And I looked at him and I said, I disagree with you. I said, I think there's a lot of people out there I can help, but I was so in shock that I was getting fired out of nowhere. And like, they escorted me out with security. I couldn't even go back on the unit. It was crazy. So that aired on ABC New York Med. And Brian thought that he was just going to kind of get rid of me after that. But in fact, that really pushed me to just go after all of it. So over all these years, I've been the keynote at American Association of Nurse Practitioners. I'm on the advisory board at FIGS. I am the 2026 MC for the Pinnacle Conference of Women in Medicine. I'm published in Forbes, New York Times, Washington Post. I advocate on Capitol Hill. I'm co-authors of however many things. And it's because of the little doubt and the insecurities of somebody who told me to stay in my lane as a nurse is what has fueled all of it. So a lot of times we will hear, you need to stay in your lane. Eunice, you need to stay in your lane. Odalo, you need to stay in your lane. You need to do this. And those people are likely beneath you, which is why you shouldn't be paying them any mind. So over the years, I learned that instead of running and feeling shame from the things, because listen, no one's proud of getting fired. I'm not proud of it, but I leaned into it and I said, people should know about this because let me tell you, nurses get fired every day. Nurses get fired every day. Good nurses get fired every day. Bad nurses get fired every day. But I have gone and had a successful career as a nurse practitioner. I still work full time. I work full time in a leadership role in telehealth. I see patients, I do my stuff, and your life goes on. And I wanted people to see that. And so, sharing the moment that was incredibly difficult was also something that a lot of people needed to see because we are never just a nurse. And there's
Yeah.
so many facets to us. And I think social media allows us to explore that. And it opens up so many other lanes. So when you are burnt out in healthcare, you can say, I'm going to go per diem because you know what? I don't need to work full time because you know what? My LLC brought in 300 last year. I don't need it. You make those lanes for yourself and you have the opportunity to do it because of people like Eunice and Odalo and myself that you can look up to as your path that way because it can happen. I'm sorry. I know that's a lot. I'm also a chatty Cathy. Like that's the problem. I work remote. I don't have anyone to talk to all day. So like I'm sorry, y'all. But I'm like
No, I mean Katie, honestly, thank you for sharing this. And that's such a real and powerful example of how complex this space can be, how complex being a nurse and being a content creator can
I
be.
don't even know if I answered the question. I'm
You
sorry. I
answered
think
it.
the question was how did you like navigate it? But the thing was that like it didn't exist at the time, but since
Mhm.
then what I did was I leaned into it. I said, this post is probably insensitive for anybody who doesn't work in healthcare. And
Mhm.
I didn't push back. I was like, there's room for opportunity here. And you know what? I did something wrong. Should I have been fired for it? No, no, no. Give me a little write up. Give me a little warning. But when you lean into things and when you take accountability, you'll notice that you grow exponentially instead
Mm.
of, pretending like you're always in the right. Because you know what? We're not. We're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I think it, you
I mean, I still to this day, I don't take, I work remote, but even when I worked in the hospital, I'm not doing anything in the hospital, no content. I would take photos from the bathroom when I was working as an NP at Sinai and like that was like my post from work. But we're talking like I'm on my way out the door.
yeah.
So I play it safe.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's really giving insight on how you navigate, hospital rules, nursing policies. I don't think it's so nuanced. So your story is I think helpful for everyone, really, and I think cautionary tale, but also to motivation to lean in to your passions, despite what other people might think you need to do as a registered nurse. And Adalo, I want to bring you in here before we move on to the next one because your content often draws from real lived experiences. It says in a way that we, talked about how it resonates with a lot of people. You say things that we just don't want to say. You share about the patient that, we probably just don't want to have to, like we
Yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
want to have to deal with, but we got to. And I imagine that sometimes that can probably blur lines a little bit. How do you navigate sharing authentically while still protecting yourself, protecting the patients that you're caring for, and maintaining those professional boundaries?
So the first thing I always remind myself is once a post goes viral, you lose or you lose the narrative to that story.
Mm.
So whatever you was trying to say, it doesn't matter anymore. It's what the public think. So I've been in a lot of situations whereby I've had to take a post down because maybe they didn't like it, and I had to make like her apology on it, saying that's not what I meant. This is what I was
Mhm.
trying to say. But I completely understand, and I feel like my community always understands me, and they always fight for me too. So they always come out and say, "Well, that's not what he was trying to say." Like Katie was saying, some posts, ER nurses we understand. Some post OB nurses we understand, and some
Yeah.
post nurses we understand, but people who are not in the healthcare would not get it. So I try to have a balance between, I make posts about patients, how patients will see us from their point of view, and how nurses see patients from our point of view. And I feel like that have made like that have helped me build a community of both patients and nurses, whereby we kind of both understand each other. Like I made a post one time about a patient being NPO, and the patient wanted to drink water, so the patient snuck and drank water, and the nurse saw the patient hit the patient, and the patient hit the nurse with a cup. So a lot of patients, it was funny, you know. But a lot of patients saw that and was like, man, I remember when I was NPO in the hospital and I wanted water so bad and I wanted to drink water. I didn't hit nobody though, but that just
Yeah.
made it a little bit funnier because
Mm.
you wouldn't really hit a nurse. Well, you wouldn't hit a nurse.
People
We
do.
hope so. But we hope so. But in that moment of I really want to drink water, I feel like sometimes human beings would do stuff that they don't want to do or
Mm.
you think about it. So
Yeah.
I create stuff like that, and it makes you feel seen in the
Mhm.
sense of okay, they understand it too. They understand that I really need to drink water, but they have to do their jobs and protect me. This is why they're doing what they're doing. It's not that they don't care for you, but sometimes a little bit of harsh love is what I need to get out of the hospital because nobody wants to be in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I try to make my videos surrounding that. I've never told anybody this, but at one time I did get in trouble with my job because I make content at work, which is why I always say don't post the name of your hospital, don't
Mm.
post patient information. If your badge has your hospital name, don't post it. Your badge have your name on it, do not post it. Don't talk about events, and Eunice said this too. Don't talk about events that just happen. If you can wait till you leave that job before you talk about it, it will help you so much better. What happened with me was somebody said my manager my video, but luckily for me, my manager have already seen my video and she told me it was funny. Um,
That's right.
but where the problem was, the person didn't like the fact that I was doing that, which made sense. Manager just spoke to me and told me, I think you should bring it down or maybe it was stopped in the hospital. And it was a good conversation. You know what I'm saying? I like the fact that instead of firing me, they decided to give me a warning and decided to give me a little bit of more education,
Mm.
you know? And
Mm-hmm.
they were slow to act rather than just, okay, you know what? This is the paperwork, you out of here. You know?
Mm.
So I like that. And that made me just kind of have a different direction with my content.
Mm. Amazing. I mean, yes. Ooh, y'all, these stories, this is y'all, we're getting tea. We're getting like inside tea. Thank you for sharing because there are clearly real lessons in what all three of you have experienced. And some of those are really cautionary tales for anyone looking to enter into content creation as a nursing student or even a registered nurse. But what's just as powerful is that despite those challenges, each of you is still building, you're still creating, and you're still shaping how nursing shows up in the digital space. So I do want to shift us a little bit to the future because what you're doing really sits at the intersection of healthcare, media, and innovation. So I would like to know, a lot of us would like to know, how do you see the role of nurses evolving in digital spaces over the next, I want to say 5 to 10 years? And I'll start with you, Odalo, and then I'll take it down. Take it down.
I think nursing has transferable skills in the sense of like our skills can be used in any point in any career in life. So
Mhm.
where social media or rather the internet comes in is I feel like the internet, what you're building on the internet is your public profile, is your resume in the sense of you can use it for any job. You can say, well, you can be a speaker. You do story time. So now you can go ahead and start speaking. I have a friend who does content, and right now he quit his job so he can focus on content full time. And he's training people on how to become content creators. And he started off as making nursing content. So I always feel like in the 5, 10 years from now, everybody who focus on making a little bit of something, you will
Mhm.
benefit so much from it 5, 10 years from now, whereby social media is going to be everything. You can sell your rights. you could sell yourself for a lot of money, you know. So I'm like, at some point, I want everybody to live the bedside because for your own mental health, nursing is fun, but you shouldn't stay in the bedside too long. I feel like you should all grow further in life. You can become a CRNA, an MP, or you can focus on content. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's another route that people can take if you
Yeah.
don't want to go through CRNA or MP.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And thanks for sharing. And that's also, a little bit of why we started the club, right? So students can know, like, you don't just have to stay at the bedside. There are other things you could do. And Eunice, I did see you nodding your head a little bit. I mean, you're everywhere. You are in the hospital, you are in another country, you are at the bedside, you're doing it all. You're online. How do you see the role of nurses evolving how do you see the role of nurses evolving in the digital space?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like right now people are starting to interject, like, well, on social media, but in other spaces online,
Mhm.
like not just in the nursing realm. Like I know for me, like I always say, like I post nursing content, but I'm also like posting like lifestyle or able to go to events that aren't related to nursing and are. So I really just see I think the nursing image, I think oftentimes we're used to like someone's a nurse and then they go home and they're a nurse. And then they come back and they're a nurse. But just the ability to be able to see people that as more than just a nurse. And I think also, as Odalo said, whether you are a content creator or not, seeing the endless possibilities of a nurse,
Mhm.
I think is amazing. I've learned so much and been able to take so many paths from
Yeah.
being educated by people online. Um, and yeah, I think that's what I have. I haven't put like too much thought into like the future of like social media and nursing because I think although we can do both, there is I think a tightrope that you walk on with trying to integrate two
Two.
and I don't know like in the job setting if it'll ever be. I don't think it'll ever be together because of HIPAA, but I
Yeah.
think in which they can both coexist appropriately. I think we're all doing that right now.
Yeah, still doing it right now. Yeah. And Katie, I mean, I know you shared a lot about your early experiences, some of which I know people are like, oh my goodness, from what opportunities, I know you mentioned some of the opportunities that you started getting early on when you started, but what opportunities are existing today for nurses that didn't exist earlier when you specifically started, in addition to, being able to do the brand deals and partner with all the different companies?
All of them,
Mhm.
all of them. None of them existed. Again, the landscape has changed, but
Yeah.
truthfully, there are so many opportunities out there. I get paid for consulting with brands who want to reach nurses and they want to know how to best form their digital creative campaigns to help speak the language of nurses and reach that audience.
Hmm.
I do consulting for health tech startups who need to learn how to properly market their campaigns to attract patients and also to hire NPs and nurses. I sit on advisory boards that guide the creative campaigns and and the allocations of where budgets go for, Fortune 500 companies such as Figs, and Relias and HealthStream. I do my own brand campaigns where a brand is paying me to post about something. I create user-generated content where I am creating something for a brand campaign, but I'm not posting it. They're going to use it in their ad material. Podcasts, podcast ads, public speaking. Um, you know, that's just kind of the main stuff. There's also making money from affiliate, commission payments. If you are selling products online, there's endless possibilities. Right now, I'm negotiating relaunching a podcast, putting a book together, and also forming a new like creative directorship board with a brand who has not even started their community or influencer program, but they create a product for nurses. So there's always going to be a space for nurses in this digital and social media realm, but you don't need to be an influencer to get it. And this is the point that I want people to take away from this. You don't need to be an influencer or creator. You don't need to have 500,000, a million followers. I don't have 500,000 followers. I got 160 on Instagram, 30 on TikTok. I don't even post on Facebook. I don't post on Threads. My business is thriving, I assure you. But the thing is that it is all about establishing trust,
Mhm.
consistency. You just have to start and you have to keep doing it as though it's your full-time job, even when it's not. And you have to put yourself out there. It's like 60% of the brand relationships and things that I have right now come from me at some point putting myself out there, reaching out and pitching myself. But I think what you have to understand, the other piece to this is that you don't need a big following to make money. You also don't need a big following to create a business for yourself. You can offer your services to brands for consulting, for, helping them reach their audience, to help them, navigate the digital landscape, or work with a up and coming emerging health tech startup brand who needs to know how to hire NPs or help formulate their protocols. There's just so much out there. And I think what social media is going to create for nurses moving forward, where I see us going, is more nursing entrepreneurs, more nurses realizing that they can start businesses and scale them without having to be the influencer role. But if you want to be the influencer role, absolutely, there's great sustainability and income from that. But also nurses realizing that the hospital and the clinic or the public health system is not their only choice. And so they will start exploring things that will give them the work-life harmony, the balance that they need. I don't really know if I believe in balance, the work-life harmony that they're looking for.
And I want to ask you one another question, Katie, really quickly, because I mean, you've kind of walked a lot of what we all have walked. You've been here, you've moved past it, or you've elevated to where you are now. What type of nursing voices or leaders do you feel are still missing in the online space that would benefit a lot of aspiring upcoming nurses?
What type of, say that one more time?
Nursing voices are like leaders in the space. So I know there's like a lot of different diverse types of leaders in the space.
Oh yeah, I think we're missing the nurse educators in the influencer space.
Yeah.
100%. But also, like, I get it. Nursing education, it doesn't pay what people want to make all the time. It doesn't align with people's lives for if they need to work remote, or maybe they don't have the right degree, maybe they don't want to get a doctorate. I get it. But nursing educators are some of the most important core people to our entire profession. And there's just not a lot of people in that space taking it to make it as where we can really kind of start like recruiting people to still want to be nursing, because we still need people to be nurses. We still need people to be nurse practitioners and CRNAs and midwives. We have a huge exodus from the profession. And granted, people need to do what's right for them. But I think that we should give a voice and a platform to people who are showing the right way to do the profession that works for you. I don't really know if that's a good answer for that. I think it's a very broad. But
it's still helpful. I mean, it's insightful. Like I said, you've seen the nursing profession and the online change so drastically. You were there from the very beginning to the end. So I think I understand that your insight is very helpful and informative, and for a lot of aspiring nurses who are probably trying to figure out, well, what is a good gap I can fill if maybe I don't want to be lifestyle, or if I don't want to be, a fashion nurse, or
the best way to answer that, what brings you joy? Like you shouldn't be looking at other people's content to figure out what you want to do, because that's not you. That's not you. People, if you want to figure out what you want to do, you ask yourself the Ikigai philosophy. Like, where is the thing that I think the world could use? What is the thing that I'm good at? The thing that people come to me for? The thing that I love? The thing that I can do every day? Because that's sustainable. And with sustainability, meaning you can do it consistently, that brings success over time. Where's the middle of those two sectors? That is the thing that you focus on. You don't focus on creating, vlog content because Eunice is so successful with that. You don't focus on sharing relatable nursing moments because Odalo is successful with that. If that's not you, if you're like, I don't really want to do that, it won't work. It won't work. So stop worrying about what other people are doing. Figure out what you like to do, and your people will find you.
Amazing. And I think that this is such a great transition to open the floor. You're getting a lot of love. Thank you for this insight, Katie. So this has been a really rich conversation. We're not done yet. I know we've covered so much from how each of you got started to how this work translates into opportunity and the real impact and responsibilities that come with it. But I do want to open it up now. If there's anything that we didn't get to or something that some of the attendees would like to go deeper on, we'd love to hear from you. I know there were a few questions in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and open up the floor for folks to ask questions because they also have questions for all of you as well. And yeah, Marie, are you there? Or okay,
Yeah, I'm here.
yeah, we can open up the floor for the questions now.
If you have a question, you can raise your hand. We'll take you off mute, and then you can go ahead and ask.
Don't hold back, y'all. Now's the time.
Sir Jean, I see you have a question.
I do have a question. I want to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today and just sharing your insights. Nurses like you are really the reason why we created this club, and you're the embodiment of our mission. So thank you. Now, the question I do have is, so Odalo, you mentioned it a little bit about, making sure you're hiding where you work and, what you're doing, like maybe school or whatever it is. But what happens when your social media handle is your name and people can easily look you up on LinkedIn, let's say, or for me as an NP, they can look up my NPI license, right? What happens then? And then when my other question is, I would think that, maybe alerting your manager that you are a content creator on the side, maybe that's a preventative way of going about it. So I would love to hear from Eunice, how you navigated doing travel nursing in different contracts, because then you're doing different contracts with different people. And also Katie, with telehealth, were you already saying or putting into your contract, listen, I'm a content creator on the side. This is what you're gonna get, basically.
Okay. So you could go.
You go first. You go first.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, okay. Your first question was, can you say it again?
First question is, how do you go about, protecting your personal life and maybe your work life? But maybe it is just altering your social media handle or not using your full name on your Instagram or your TikTok, because people can look you up very easily online. How do you go about protecting that?
So the first thing you need to do is, if you can't change your name, well, I ain't gonna lie, I feel like you should change your name. Change it to something that people cannot look up. Because I've had a situation whereby I was basically, they found my license, and luckily for me, they couldn't find where I worked by looking me up, but they found my license, they posted it because of a post that that I made that people thought it was something else, but it was not what I was trying to say. So they misunderstood it. They thought I was basically denying the patient of care. And I had to make them understand that that's not what I was trying to do, because they thought, so basically what happened was I made a post about a patient. There was a trend going on and I followed the trend. So they thought I was talking about a transgender patient. I was denying the transgender patient care. And I said, no, that's not what it was. I wasn't even thinking about transgender patients at that time. So I had to make them understand. But during that whole situation, they found my name, they found my license number, they found my sister's name. So, like, they found me out, but they couldn't find where I worked. So what I would say is the best thing you could do for yourself, because at some point of making content, somebody out there would misunderstand what you're trying to say, and that can lead to a lot of situations, right? So I would say try to take your name out of it as much as possible, because you want to be able to control the situation without affecting your life and your job and your license. You know, I was able to control the situation and explain to people what was going on. And that's why I never ended up in trouble or the board coming against me, because the board only cares about public trust. And if they feel like you're misusing that trust, they will come for you and they will investigate you. So I controlled the situation, and I didn't need to be in front of the board or meet my manager or anything of that kind of situation.
Okay, so trying to protect your personal information as much as
Exactly.
But you also have to be, if you're ever going to show your face online, your identity is going to be discovered.
Mm.
That's the safe bet. We're in the age of AI. You know, before AI, you wouldn't necessarily need to worry about that, and you could just use a different name. But if your face is going to, if you're going to do any face to camera stuff,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be able, your identity is going to be able to be discovered if you have a LinkedIn page or if you've ever posted on a personal Facebook that's locked. Your name and your face is always published on the internet. So at the end of the day, I typically advise people you either need to be anonymous or you need to be with it.
good. Thank
See, really quickly, I do want to make sure we get to the students. Crystal, I think you had a question. Can you unmute yourself? I think you had a question for Katie and Eunice and Odalo about contracts.
Hey, Crystal was actually having some connection problems, so she did have to log off.
Okay.
Question is up in the chat.
I see it. How do creator contracts work? I think, Katie, you mentioned a little bit about this. Eunice and Odalo, I think a lot of, I see two of these questions actually to me. Thank you. How do the creator contracts work? What are key terms to look out for if you are not represented by talent managers?
Oh, this is tricky. So first of all, ChatGPT could be your best friend, but there's a few things, you know, you should. Okay, so ChatGPT can be your friend for this, and there's a few things that you need to look out for, and that is what are the deliverables, which is what is the content you have to create, what is the usage, which means what usage rights does the brand have to your content, and is there any exclusivity? Those three things there are typically like the trigger words. How many pieces of content are you going to create for them? You know, that's something that you guys can discuss. But if a brand ever says we have usage in perpetuity for your content, that's a big red flag, right? Because it means that they can use your one piece of content or your 10 pieces of content forever. So they're profiting off of it forever. So I think you want to learn how to use ChatGPT, be very specific and say, can you please review this contract and make sure that the usage terms, the exclusivity, and the deliverables are aligned with whatever your goal is for that relationship?
Thank you. Y'all heard that. In perpetuity. That's a no. That's a no. Eunice, I know you. Go ahead, Katie. You were going to say something, please.
No, I mean, like, there might be a time where you're fine with it. Maybe your friend is starting a business and you're, you are, helping her out with her social stuff. And you're like, you're creating a med spa. Sure, you can use this video of me giving you neurotoxin for perpetuity. I don't care. Like, just be mindful. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Eunice, can you share a little bit more? I know you have a lot of the content that folks are interested in as well. What do you specifically look out for? I know you have a manager though, so it's a little bit different. So
Yeah, I'm blessed because she looks out for everything. I honestly I'd be getting got if it was me. But prior to having management team, I was super interested in social media. So I'd be digging online. Anytime one of my favorite content creators is on a podcast, I'm listening. Anytime someone's giving advice about content creation, I'm listening. Because you learn so much. This is a new industry, so there's no real standard, right? When I found out there were content creators my size making $1,000 off a post, I was like, wait, what? Like that's a thing. When I found out people were making 5, 10, like the numbers are there. Content creation is turning into like a multi-billion-dollar industry over the next few years. Like the money is there. Brands have realized this is a way to reach my target audience. Why put an ad on television when it might reach my target audience, when I can find a person who maybe has 50,000 followers, and if it reaches 5 or 10 of those, like that's my target audience. That's what we want to pay for these things. So my best piece of advice is listening to other content creators to try to figure out what numbers and what ranges are. And it really does vary because there's some brands that you might think have a really big budget that don't, and others hit up your email. They're like, hey, we want to pay you this much. And you're like, I never would have even said that number, but thank you. So yeah, I really just try to learn from others. And even though I do have representation and management that looks through everything, at the end of the day, I can say yes and no to things. Through learning from other content creators and stuff, I might tell my manager like, "Hey, can you ask for a little more? Like, hey, maybe let's negotiate the deliverables because I think 2 videos is kind of a lot for that ask of that amount." And she might ask, and they say, "Yeah, we'll do 1 TikTok instead of 2." So yeah, really just trying to learn from others because there is no standard yet, and this industry is like changing month to month.
Yeah, definitely. And then, oh, thank you, Eunice. And then, Odalo, you mentioned how you shared a little bit about how you saw that transition of companies just kind of coming at you with all kinds of like opportunities for different scrub companies and things like that. How did you like kind of determine like what were the strongest, I guess, deals to take and which ones you really wouldn't take?
So at first, I was picking it based on what I thought was right, and then I didn't really know if there was like a standard for like the price I should be giving them because they would ask me, which was weird. I was like, they would ask me, "What are your rates?" And I never had a rate. I never knew what a rate was. So eventually, I met friends that were doing content as well, and we became so close that we started sharing each other's rates. And that made me understand, okay, this is what I can get and this is what I can give, if that makes sense. And sometimes those companies, they might reach out to me and reach out to them as well. So we can know if they're trying to lowball us or if they're not. So if I get like let's say a medicine company reach out to me and they're like, they want to give me, let's say 1,000, maybe 800, 500, whatever the price is, I'll tell my friend, I'll be like, hey, because we have a group chat. I'll be like, hey, this company reached out to me. Did they reach out to you as well? And then they'll be like, yeah, they did. They offered to pay me this. So now I have a standpoint to negotiate. So if they were giving me lower, I can tell them, well, I feel like I'm worth more based on what they offer to my friend. I can negotiate reasonably and not just throw out numbers without having a clear understanding of what the numbers are.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, I got a direct message. Okay, this person asked, I have Okay, I have something that I have an idea that I'm passionate about. I want to start sharing. For someone like me starting from zero today, no platform or no following, what suggestions would you have for me starting off for my first 30 days? So yeah, I think that's the
I
question.
figure out, yeah, just start. Like, understand it's not going to be perfect. And even when people aren't watching it or aren't liking it, you just have to keep doing it. The only difference between a successful creator with a business and a life in the industry and one who is not is the person who is not gave up at some point in time. That's it. You just have to keep doing
Yeah,
it.
for
You know,
sure.
you have
And
to push through and keep doing it while no one is watching.
Nobody's watching. That's good. Eunice, go ahead, Eunice. You can add your sentiments.
yeah, I agree. And then yeah, following up on that consistency. If you're waiting for, oh, wait till I have the apartment or the aesthetic kitchen to show cooking content, or I'm gonna wait till I have this in life, you're gonna be waiting forever. I started in my post-grad apartment. So just consistency in posting. And then the second thing is I always say nowadays it's really hard to just get online and be like, hi, my name is Eunice, like let's go for a walk. Who are you? Why am I listening to you? But I always say if you can offer someone a service of some sorts, educating them, insight, comfort, laughter, just something, they'll be drawn to you and you work from there. I didn't even realize when I was doing it, I was offering people a service of some sort. Like I was educating them on nursing or what I was doing or tips on this. And then it formulated to, oh, wait, Eunice, you have a life outside of work. Like, what do you do on the weekends? And I'm like, oh, well, oh, I can show you now. But if I were to get on the internet in 2026 with no platform and say, hey guys, this is what I'm doing for the weekend, what is going to draw someone to that random video? You might cultivate a small community, but you might reach someone better if you're like, hey, here are 5 things I do on the weekend to be productive. And you could share your weekend, but that kind of draws them into like, oh, I kind of want to be productive, or I want to be a little more disciplined. Or she's kind of offering me insight. I'm learning something, or I'm laughing. So I would say that's a good tidbit to kind of take your idea and just use that angle. So it's like the same, but like a little different.
Awesome. Okay. I see you nodding, Odalo.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to find what makes you different. because everybody's different when you're making content. You know, in a way, it kind of seems like we all making the same story, but we all have different patterns to that story. The way I'm telling my story is not the same way Eunice is telling hers. It's not the same way Katie's telling hers. So how can you tell your story differently? Is what makes you stand out when we're making content, if that makes sense. Because like whenever I make a content, it has to be from my storyline. It has to be how I saw it, how I viewed it, and I try to create it as closely as possible to that situation as possible because I don't want to copy somebody else because you can start off copying people, but at some point everybody will start seeing you as, oh, I've seen that before. Why should I stick around? I'm just gonna skip. I've seen this before. I've seen this before. What makes your video different is what makes people stick. And we are different people, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And oh, go ahead. Add. Somebody said yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, yeah. And I think it answers the question that just popped up. Do you think the nursing influencer world is oversaturated? I don't think anything's oversaturated as long as we're all keeping our own authentic, real selves.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. I may not be your cup of tea. That's fine. There's 30 other nurse practitioner influencers over 40 in New York City you can follow. You walk down the bread aisle. How many types of bread are there? Yet everybody's leaving with something.
Exactly. Yeah,
Everybody's leaving with something. So like you gotta get past this whole hang up of like, oh, it's oversaturated. I'm not gonna do it. It's oversaturated, then don't do it. But you gotta realize like I'm somebody different. I have something different to offer. I have something different to bring. And this is who I am. And I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna be my authentic self. And this is what makes me different than all the other people out there. I'm different from other NP lifestyle creators over 40. That's why brands reach out to me. Eunice is different for ABCD. Odalo's like, we're all different, but we're all nursing influencers. Like,
exactly.
what is oversaturation? If everybody's doing the same shit, yeah. So don't get on there and do the same shit. Get on there and do something that is for you.
You know, like me personally, I feel like I come from immigrant parents and I have an accent. So starting off making content, talking was the biggest problem for me because I always felt like I had to put subtitles because I'm like, I don't think people would really understand what I'm saying because even sometimes at work, just to pronounce medications is a problem for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I have an accent. And that was a big problem for me, but I didn't let that stop me. I started off with what I could do, which was I'll put a sound over a video, I'll put a text on it, and I'll post it. But since 2 years ago to now, I've been talking more in my content actually because I'm like, everybody, there's somebody out there who can understand what I'm saying. And a lot of immigrants too who have accents, they get it too. They understand that, yes, my accent is there. I can't change that because that's part of me. But at the end of the day, somebody out there understands what I'm saying and they will reflect on it and they will take away something from it. Somebody's gonna go away with something at the end of the day.
Yes.
So don't be scared of your insecurities to make that stop you from doing what you love to do. If you want to do it, just do it. Somebody out there would understand.
Yeah. You have to change your perspective. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. You have to change your perspective from, I can't do this. I sound this way. I look this way. I'm over 40. I don't have kids. I'm single, whatever it is. And you have to say, yeah, I am all these things. And that's why everybody else who's all those things needs me.
Exactly.
Like it's your inclusion criteria versus your exclusion criteria. You just have to change your perspective.
That's what makes you stand out. They will
Yeah.
see it and they will follow you and they will be like, you're giving them strength to keep going on. You're empowering them to know, okay, I'm Nigerian, I'm from this country, but I'm in another country making content, doing what I love. And the people in that country are loving it as well. And the people from my country are seeing it and be like, man, that's our people. That's our person. He's making a difference. And that's what I like to do. And I'm having fun while doing it. And I feel like people are seeing that, okay, I'm not just boring. I'm fun. And if I can make it fun, you can enjoy it.
Enjoy it. And I think that is all I think that is a beautiful way for us to transition. Thank you so much for sharing. This has been such a thoughtful and rich conversation. Everyone truly appreciates all of the depth that you all brought. Before we wrap, though, I do want to shift gears and I want us to end on a really light and inspirational note. So we have some rapid fire questions for y'all. Okay, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to give you the question. It is this or that. So just you tell us. Boom. No need to go into depth. You just tell us what it is. Okay. Katie, one piece of advice you wish you had it before you started. One piece.
Just start
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Eunice, one mistake new creators should avoid.
Being inconsistent. If you post once a month,
Hmm.
everyone's gonna forget about you. Post every day or more consistently. You don't have to do it every day.
Odalo, consistency or creativity, which one matters more?
Both.
Ooh, both. Okay.
You need both.
But if you had to put one, if you had to pick one.
Creativity.
Creativity. All right, good. Katie, first paid opportunity, yes or no? Were you ready?
Yeah.
Love it.
Because I pitched myself for it.
You said what?
Because I was part of my pitching myself for it. But
amazing, amazing. Eunice, brand deals or creative control?
Brand deals? Yeah, I think so. Like creative control is the brand? Like the I think I have follow-up questions.
Brand deals. So you know how brand deals you have to stick with, you have to do like whatever the brand tells you to do. It's like the brand is like you have to do this, this, and this, or do you having more creative control?
Oh no, creative control in the brand deal. Yeah, I like when they're like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Here's my idea."
Okay, and then Odalo, one thing that you wish people understood about making money in this space.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of money in circulation. Yeah.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in circulation. All right. Before we wrap up, Odalo, Eunice, and then Katie, we're going to round up with you. One piece of advice for all of the nursing, aspiring nurses out here. Many people are students at Columbia and other schools, some from California, some from Texas that have logged on the call. One piece of advice for us, for all these all students as we round up and get ready to enter the profession.
Never let anybody pipeline you into a career that doesn't align with the life you want to live.
I'll say have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun. If you don't have fun, you're not gonna enjoy what you're doing. Have fun. That's how you last long. Like I go to work, I'm smiling. You know, everybody knows I'm a happy, joyful person. So have fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, Community College ADN. Hey, y'all. Welcome. All right. And then Eunice, one piece of advice for all of the nurses on the line that are looking up to y'all.
Throughout your career, always look at three things: your interests, your lifestyle, and the versatility of the path, and always reevaluate those. So if you're super interested in something, it fits your lifestyle and it's the path you want to go, stick with it. If it's no longer interesting, it's not fitting your lifestyle, something's not working, change the path. There's so many different opportunities in nursing. There's so many different things you can do with one degree. And don't box yourself in, like Katie said.
Amazing. I just want to say thank you to all of you, Katie, Eunice, and Odalo, for your honesty, your transparency, and your insights, and the ways that you have shared your experiences so candidly and openly with us tonight. We are so appreciative. This has been such a powerful conversation, not just around opportunity, but around impact and responsibility and what it really looks like to navigate a space with intention. So I am going to hand it over to our president to kind of round up things. But again, thank you so much. And I hope that everyone that has attended this is walking away with something that they can take with them, whether that's inspiration or clarity or even just a starting point. I hope that you were just as inspired by their stories as we were. And thank you again, Eunice, Odalo, and Katie. You all are amazing. And we are so appreciative of you coming here and pouring into us in the ways that you did. I'm going to hand it over to the president, Marie, so she can round this up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Ajero. And I think you pretty much summed it all up. So before we close out, just wanted to say thank you again, not just to the panelists, but to the audience as well. You made this conversation very impactful. You contributed to such an impactful conversation, sending in your questions and just participating in the chat. Thank you. And of course, the executive board member, this is our current board members. They have put in so much work and they continue to push the mission of CNP-BC forward. Such a great group to work with. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to follow us on social media. We have our Instagram and our LinkedIn QR codes right there. And we truly do hope that today's conversation inspired you all to think beyond the bedside. Just use your voices and step boldly into the many opportunities that exist for nurses today. And a final thank you all for being here. And we look forward to seeing you all at our next event. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
You.
Have a good one.
Have a good
you so
one.
much.
Bye.
Bye. How do I end this?